Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Isanti special meeting for the City Council on Tuesday, April 13th. Seating may be limited. If you would like to send in a comment for public comment or a public hearing to be read on your behalf, please submit that to the city clerk at jstrand@cityofisanti.us or call her at 763-762-5759. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for Pledge Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know Councilman Gordon is via Zoom. Is Councilman Burgley on there?
I do not yet.
Okay. Present, I have Councilman Collison and Councilman Lundin. Is there any public comment at this time? None at this time. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mayor, Council, we do have a change in resolution on one of the items. It would be business item number 2, accepting quotations for liquor store refrigeration system. If there is the quotation for SCR is the lowest bidder, however, it does have an option to have different doors for the refrigeration coolers. So depending on which option is chosen, we will be providing you with another resolution that has that lower amount.
Just a question I have on the doors, are they going to meet our needs? Or were they Pacific doors that John wanted, or what?
Not to my knowledge, but they are, the handle is different. Would you prefer that the handle be from top to bottom of the doors, or would you prefer that it have a handle that is approximately about a foot or so to grasp to open it?
I don't think any of them are any different, are they, Dan? I mean, I haven't,
As long as it works for handicap.
You can accept the agenda with this change, just letting you know that there's 2 resolutions to consider for.
Jaden's got it. She's coming in.
So
That's the smaller one.
They'll all be black, they'll all be LED, all that stuff, but it's the full handle that costs.
Councilman Gordon, what you're not seeing is the handles are all black.
Is what?
One is kind of a C-shaped handle that goes from top to bottom of the door. The other one is also black, and it's about
And
2
does
feet long,
these ones
right in the
match?
center of the door. I'm just worried about handicap accessibility.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, my answer is gonna be whichever one's cheaper, so.
The door that does not have the handle, the full length of the door, that quotation is approximately about $10,000 less. So it is less.
That sounds good to me.
I see you got a
more?
visitor, Councilman Gordon.
Well, I got lots of visitors. See, that's what I got too.
Yeah, congratulations.
There's the new baby.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't believe door handles are that expensive. What are they made out of? Gold?
That, the short one still works for handicap.
Yeah, if it still meets handicap accessibility, for $10,000, I'd rather go with the shorter handles.
I concur on that one.
Yep. I also do.
So shorter handle it is.
So adopt the agenda with the revised resolution, please.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda with the modified resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Lundin so moves, and Councilman Collison seconds. All in favor? Via Zoom, you'll have to state your name and say aye.
Jimmy Gordon, aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Let's move on to business items. Resolution awarding the bid for the Isanti Municipal Liquor Store.
Mayor, if I may, if we want to make,
There's Councilman Burgley, I bet.
make mention that Berkeley has joined the meeting, please.
Councilman Burgley, welcome, sir. Glad to see you. Or hear of you, anyway.
All right, so thank you, Mayor. So Mayor and Council, we did go out for bids for the municipal liquor store. We did have many bidders that it was exciting to see that they came in all below the engineer architect's estimate. So what you have before you, included in your packet, is the bid abstract, so it shows the bidders that came in. The low bid was Alliance Building Corp. The base lump sum, as that's how it was written, they have submitted their bid, and as I mentioned, the low bidder is for $1,918,900. These bids were all reviewed, and staff as well as Mr. England with Woodseth is recommending that they are a responsible low bidder that the city should choose to build the liquor store.
Now, what I want to make mention on this so everybody is clear, even with the alternate 1 and 2, which was the metal roof and the snow melt, that 1,918,000 and change is including those numbers.
That is correct.
The options.
Mike,
That was
to
a
have them.
deduct. If we didn't want them, it would be deducted.
Correct.
So I just want that to be stated. I mean, that's well below what we anticipated to start with, so.
Mike, what did we budget for this?
The simple answer is, we were expecting numbers quite a bit higher than this. These bids are much lower than what we were anticipating.
Okay,
If we accept this bid and the other work that I have set forward for the bond issue, yeah, my work this week has been about getting the bond issue revised downward substantially from what we had anticipated.
Because it was like 2.3.
no matter who we went with?
No.
No. We're compelled to take the low bidder if we deem them responsible, right? So at the 1.9, but I was going into this, I was expecting about 2.354 million plus 100,000 for steel roof, plus at least another 30,000 for snow melt. And we are now completely the opposite direction. Those things are included, and it's only 1.9.
So Mayor and Council, we do need to make the decision, as Councilmember Lundin pointed out, whether we want to accept or deny deduct number 1, which is for the roof, which is for $100,300, and also to accept or deny alternate deduct number 2, which would be for the snow melt, and that's $60,000. So those decisions need to be also made. And I do want to point out, and very appreciative, that we do have 2 representatives from Alliance Building Corporation joining us via Zoom. And I'd ask them just to introduce themselves so you're aware that they are here.
Good evening, Council. My name is Corey Garrett. I'm the president of Alliance Building Corporation. Alongside me is Bob Landsberger. He will be the project manager and estimator for the project.
Nice to meet you, gentlemen.
Nice to meet you.
One question before I forget where my mind is. For the snow melt, can we just have it prepped for future installation of the mechanical parts?
So what you're requesting is if we can just have the tubing installed and not do all the others, the way that the bid documents
So
are put
we,
together.
later down the road, we can,
It is an option, but we would have to do a change order immediately to not have alternate number 2, but to do a change order to have the piping included.
I thought we
Councilman
talked about that
But
before.
I'm gonna say one thing here. Originally, when we discussed this snow melt, the budgeted, the amount that there was guesstimation was 250,000 for it all. That 60,000, I'm gonna tell you right now, jump on it.
Oh, I thought you had just said 30,000.
No, he put that in, so he was at 2.3 plus 100,000 for roof, plus another 30,000,
They were anticipating it to be much more.
much
Right,
more.
yeah, I understand. I heard him say that.
Yeah, but he was anticipating it to be way more.
And for us not to do that would be probably a headache because their semis are all gonna slide around in that loading dock and it's gonna benefit us more. As much as I don't wanna spend that money, it's gonna benefit our product coming in and out of that liquor store and
Tracking
and
in.
the safety of our employees,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
shoveling,
Yeah,
salting.
yeah, I understand all that.
No, but it personally, at $60,000 for that whole system, when I looked at it, Ms. Wood notified me when the bids were open, I couldn't be here. But when she notified me, I looked at that and I asked her the question, is that just the snow melt tubing or is that the boiler and everything? She said it's completed. And I looked at her and I said, I hate to tell you, you'd be a fool not to accept that. Because I think originally the mechanical engineer on that said that's gonna be like a $750,000 or $850,000 or $1 million BTU boiler. And those aren't cheap. That's, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd jump on that in a heartbeat if I was doing this project myself. We're gonna be under budget to start with, and that 1.9 is including all that.
Right.
So it's not like we're,
No, I just had the one question, so.
And I think it's, I mean, almost every other business in the country probably functions just fine without a snow melt system. $60,000, I just don't see enough value in it to justify spending.
Your second day back to work?
What'd you say, Councilman Burgley?
So I would like to see it done without that, and that's just my 2 cents. But I think it's overkill. I don't think it's totally necessary.
so Ms. Wood, so if you understand me right, I would say I make a motion, we accept the bid with alternate 1 and alternate 2, not deducting them, accepting those alternates as the complete package.
I would like to ask Mr. Anglin of, in reference to Councilmember Paulson's question about how much it would cost just the tubing in, because I've not provided that number. Are you able to speak on what that change order would be, Mike?
I was have used to that pair.
Thank you, everyone. Mike Anglin, architect with Woodseth, and so
Did you like that?
what I have here on my screen is our estimate that we had put together, and so when I'm taking a look at the 3 different numbers that we were reviewing at the time for HVAC, we did identify that that to just rough in would be an additional 30 grand just for tubing and insulation. That was the number that we're talking about. So that's the scale of the change order. Again, that's just an estimate that we had put together. So when we were looking at all of that, I will say just my experience working with, I worked with a lot of fleet farms in my career and with the loading docks, as well as with, also just, we did a lot of snow melt out across in the front of the store, and just from a maintenance side of things, safety for customers and staff, my recommendation, take it or leave it, but it's such a great thing to have for you to operate and own this building.
Councilmember Gordon and Burgley, were you able to hear that?
Yeah, I heard he said that he's done a lot of work for Fleet Farm and they have it. Is that right?
Well, yeah, and but his estimate is what he can go off of is their estimate, which would be approximately $30,000. I'm not sure if that's something, can we ask Alliance if they have? Perhaps Corey, if you're able to maybe provide some information on if we did decide to just have tubing put into the sidewalks and not the full system, do you have an estimate on that change order?
We don't have an estimate yet. We're thinking in that range with the foam and the tubing would probably be that 30 to 40 grand range.
Yeah, that's, I was kind of curious what the cost difference was. 60 grand though is, it would cost more than that for someone to slip and fall out there on a incident like for the city, so. I mean, I've heard of people slipping and falling inside stores and it costs them well over 6 figures to settle that, so.
That's my only fear, is the safety of not only the employees, but the residents. Somebody falls and ends up suing the city, it's gonna cost us a lot more than 60 grand. That's a liability. And everybody
and
knows I
that's- yeah.
dislike the liability word, so.
And I think if you look at it, you're gonna take away staff time to go out and shovel and salt.
Yep.
And when you put salt on concrete, salt eats the concrete terribly. And so then 4 years down the road, all of a sudden we're busting up sidewalks. I mean, we did this out here in front of City Hall. You know, a few years ago, we had to do that and take out all the sidewalks, and we had somebody come in, tear it all out, reform it, re-pour it. It's gonna save us money in the long run all the way down the road.
Yep, in a couple of different ways possibly.
Well, and labor and staff going out, salting, shoveling, sanding, tracking in the salt and sand in the stores, so now they're constantly mopping the floors. I think that 60,000 would pay for its labor in the first couple of years, just alone, not even talking about a potential lawsuit?
Oh, that's the only thing that's concerning me is the lawsuit, so. Liability is, I can't stand that word. So if we can dodge liability, I'm all for it. I know it's gonna save us maintenance costs, you know, employees shoveling and not salting. I get all that, but I'm in fear of that lawsuit. And if we can do our due diligence in avoiding that, then I'm all for it.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice to have, I'm just saying that I think it's, almost every other business doesn't have it. We've been getting by just fine at the current liquor store without it. And, if it was my money or probably most of the taxpayers' money, then they were starting a business, 60 grand's a lot of money, so.
Or they can,
about a year-
or they can put their taxes to a six-figure lawsuit. I guess which one would you want more as a
Well,
taxpayer?
we have insurance, obviously, so, and we haven't had lawsuits come up with this current liquor store, and we've salt and shovel and do all that kind of stuff. And as far as staff time, I mean, there probably is time where there's downtime and they have time to do that anyway, so, anyway, it sounds like you guys are on board with it, and that's fine, but, I would just say that if it was your personal business and you're talking about a year worth of income, from that business, or maybe a half a year worth of income, let's say if you had it as a liquor store that you owned personally, would you be willing to spend a half a year or a year worth of income, depending on the volume you do at that store, on sidewalk melt? That's how, I mean, obviously we're a government entity, but if you were looking at this from a personal point of view, on, you know, if you were opening that business as a liquor store, I doubt that you would ever even consider spending $60,000 on that, you know, something that might be nice to have, but probably not necessary.
I mean, I'm sitting here literally homeworking Alliance Building Corp., and the only bad thing I see is he went to the University of Wisconsin. Other than that, you know, I don't see anything wrong with it, so. Taking a stab at you, Corey. Because you went to the University of Wisconsin, I see, and I'm a diehard Vikings fan.
I'm taking Mike Engel's recommendation. He's worked with them. I don't know you, Corey. You know, I've been doing this forever. You know, and I had stated this long ago in our meetings that I wasn't gonna jump on low bidder, but Mike has recommended you guys very, you know, that he has no problem with you guys. He wouldn't steer me in the wrong way, and I've gotten to know Mike over some time here, and I've done some other projects with Mike. So, you know, with that being said, that's why my recommendation is to go with you guys. You know, the numbers are great. I think that, you know, we're pretty much flabbergasted by it, you know. But, you know, if we award you the contract, my biggest thing is, and you know this as well as I do, material is hard to come by right now. You know, and this is one of the reasons I asked Miss Wood to have you present, was to alliterate to you that we need to order materials today. I mean, you know, as soon as you sign this contract, I think we need to get on it, you know, and that's one of the reasons I stressed to have this meeting a week earlier, for that simple fact, this week could be 6 weeks on the end of this project. And that's why, you know, I can't stress enough. Product is getting worse and worse and worse. And the only thing I would have to say, and I'm sure Mr. Engel put it in the contract, is we can't see all of a sudden come and say, oh, the materials went up another 25%, and we got to add another 25%. That's why I stress the fact that you guys to be here, and we should get on top of this, ordering everything as much as we can today. I know our local truss manufacturer right down the street from there. It's not even, it's, as a crow flies, 2 blocks. P&M Truss. Right now, they said they're 8 to 12 weeks out on a truss, you know, for trusses. So this kind of stuff, the sooner we jump on it, sooner things are ordered. The stuff can sit, rather than the project sit and not get anything accomplished. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'd have to stress on that. And And that's why I wanted you present, because the council does lean towards me on this, because I've been doing this forever. You
He's
know,
been doing it probably my whole life, so
More
that tells
so.
you how old he is.
so,
And council member, we appreciate you guys taking and holding a special meeting because that's always our concern too. If we are approved as the low qualified bidder, then we will jump on the contracts right away. That would be our first thing because we too have to get our contracts out to our subcontractors to lock those in because we do not want to see price increases and we're well aware of it. We deal with it every day and it's something that we just have to work through. But yeah, as soon as you can get us a contract, the sooner we can get our subcontracts out, sooner we can lock the numbers and get shop drawings and materials ordered and delivered. Yes, we fully understand and appreciate that.
so I don't know who you deal with for your standing seam metal roofs. I do have I'm gonna just say a friend of mine who lives just east of Cambridge. He actually makes standing seam roof panels. So he can make those panels for you, and I would gladly give you his number. You can reach out to him. Because sometimes I've seen standing seam roof panels ordered from the lumber yards, and it takes forever to get them. He's got the machine. He bought the machine. He wants to do more and more of it. So he has the machine to make the standing seam roofs. And I just reached out to him the other day, and he reached out to BJ Boss because that was the closest contact he had. I didn't know you were bidding it. I knew Boss was. So, and his name didn't get sent in with recommended, not recommending, but pointing out local contractors. So you might want to look at that, contact him. That might help. It's easier to get a roll of steel, a coil of steel, than it is to get the panels already made. So it's just food for thought.
Yeah, thank you.
But if that's what you were looking for, Ms. Wood, my motion is to accept Alliance as the bidder without the deducts, the job as complete.
So the metal roof, tell me what's the advantage of, so it costs more to have the metal roof or it's less to have it?
It's more to have the metal roof. If we went with asphalt shingles, we would be subtracting out $100,300 from their lump sum bid.
Okay, so, what's the advantage of the metal roof, I guess, would tell me, it lasts forever, I suppose, and there's not
50
shingles we
years,
have to replace.
100.
and-
The metal roof is gonna last.
50 plus years
Yeah,
over
I was gonna say 40
20
plus
years
but
tops with no storm damage.
this is probably gonna outlast us, Councilman Gordon. Well, me anyway. I don't know about you. You might live forever, but the roof would last easily.
Probably.
So for this capital improvement plan, the asphalt shingles are in there for about 25 years, and a metal roof would be 80 years as scheduled replacement timeline.
So how much does it cost to replace the standard, shingle roof? If we had to replace that 3 times to get up to the useful life of this metal roof?
I'd probably say more than 100,000. That's probably, my guesstimation is probably about a $75,000 shingled roof.
Okay,
I don't have an
So
answer
by
for
the
you,
time-
Councilmember Gordon, because we did a lump sum, so we did not have that itemized separately, so I'm not sure how much it would cost, to be honest.
okay, but Steve, you think that if you had to replace this, twice to get about the same useful life, you're better off just doing the metal roof and having it last longer?
Absolutely. You get, wind comes in, peels up a shingle, now you got a roof leak, we got more potential issues, then you gotta get somebody up there to patch, fix it. The metal roof isn't gonna pop up as easy.
Okay,
And you're dealing with construction while you're trying to be open for business a lot more frequently.
With a shingled roof. Then.
Yep.
Roll-offs in the way, taking up parking spots, just debris, workers everywhere.
okay. I don't know, is it possible, can we make a motion separately for the, you know, to choose Alliance and then to do the metal roof and keep the plumbing for the ice melt out of it for this motion, and then do a separate one for that, or do we have to do it all together?
Councilmember Gordon, we have it as one resolution. That could be another motion, I suppose, for the mayor to see on the floor. But we do have it as one resolution to accept Alliance as the lump sum, and then it's to either approve or deny the deducts, the alternates together.
Okay.
Well, we
Yeah,
could do
it's
it
not a-
separately, but they're on
it's
one
not a huge
resolution.
deal.
Right now on the floor, I do have a motion to accept Alliance as is. I have not heard a second as of yet. And Councilman Gordon, I'd entertain your motion to accept Alliance without the snow melt. So if I had a second on either one of those,
I'll second on Lundine's.
so I now have a second with accepting Alliance with the metal roof and snow melt for the total of the 1.9. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Jimmy Gordon, aye?
Councilman Burgley, how are you voting, sir?
Paul Burgley, aye.
For which, Paul?
For which one, Paul?
Did you hear me? I said Paul Burgley, aye.
Yeah, okay. So you're voting aye in favor of it, correct?
Yep, I in favor of it.
Motion carries 4-1. Moving on to business item 2, resolution accepting quotations for the liquor store refrigeration system. I saw that somewhere here.
Is this the one with the short handles?
Yeah,
Yes.
so the resolution before you, Mayor, Council, that was provided today, and emailed to you as well, to the other council members who are not in person here. It is for refrigeration systems as a whole, and we received 2 quotes. And the one without having the long handles, the approximate $10,000 less, would be for SCR in the amount of $143,871. That was the low bidder between the two and going with the lowest of theirs.
I think we all discussed the short handles is what we all liked for $10,000 less. Anybody have
We
any?
were planning on using some of the refrigeration from the existing refrigeration. Is that still the plan, and that's kind of incorporated into this bid, or is this just all brand new stuff?
I'll let Mr. England talk on that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, City Administrator Wood. We did actually reach out and have them come on site to review the condition of the existing refrigeration and the panels themselves. And so after talking with them and receiving numbers, it was actually more expensive to do that. And also, one of the big determining factors there, in my opinion, for the city to consider is the time that it would take to be down, to take all of that apart, to reassemble it at the new store. And then what we had to do due to the size of the new store is actually incorporate new panels. And so the compatibility of those panels was not an easy thing to do either. And so you can really pick up a lot of time if you just install new and bring product over. So it'll save you time and money. And that was feedback that we got from everybody that took a look at that.
Are we gonna be able to sell what's in there then?
It could be. I didn't ask that question, and I'm not sure if John did. But yeah, I just took a look at the new store.
I would think we would be able to auction or
Sell it.
sell it somehow, some way.
Even through one of those state auction sites.
Yeah.
Like the fire department did with their trucks and.
Like the police department does too.
Yep. Or maybe Mr. Gordon needs one for new store.
Used refrigeration doesn't go for much, but It's nice if you have it already, of course, because you don't have to buy new, but getting used, any kind of money for used refrigeration is pretty tough. But did both companies feel the same way as far as using the old stuff, that it was gonna be better to go new?
Yes, they did.
That's correct, and they did do a lot of research, and so it actually took them longer to put a proposal together and give us feedback for reusing the panels than it was to do the new panels themselves. And so, yeah, it was definitely the way to go. And then they also did take a look at the gravity-fed shelving, and so we took a look at that as well. So there was an attempt by the city of Isanti to try to reuse as much as possible.
Just to, Corey and Alliance, you guys don't have to stay if you don't want to. As you've heard, you've been awarded this, so we'll get this signed and to you so you can jump on this as quickly as we'd like you to. I'm sure you know Mike's your contact, so you have any questions, talk to Mike. We highly appreciate you guys showing up today and introducing yourselves, even though you went to the University of Wisconsin. Other than that, I appreciate you fellas. Welcome to the family for a build that all of us are going to cherish. You guys can stay if you'd like, otherwise you're more than welcome to exit.
Well, we appreciate it. We really look forward to working with you guys, and it should be a wonderful project for everyone.
No Badger stuff anywhere in the city either, by the way.
Although you could bring over some spotted cow to put in our liquor store.
Yeah, we're all right with that.
Some
Well,
cheese.
Let's just make it clear that Bob and I both went to Wisconsin to school, but we're back here in Minnesota, so.
All right, okay, fair enough.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys. Councilman Gordon, did that answer your question that you had, sir?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve St. Cloud Refrigeration.
Second.
Motion to approve St. Cloud Refrigeration by Councilman Lundin and a second by Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Via Zoom, state your name and say aye.
Aye.
Councilman Burgley? Councilman Burgley?
Paul Burgley, aye.
Thank you, sir. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Business item number 3, discussion regarding sale of the northern portion of the liquor store site.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So I have some images that I'll be bringing up here, and then I will share my screen. And Mr. Cook is available to speak on this, as well as Ms. Selman. There are a lot of stipulations that go with that, and I know that there were some questions asked to make that shovel-ready, or some other potential options for that, and also Mr. Becker is available for this discussion as well. So let me pull up some documents here. Okay, the first one I'm gonna bring up here, it shows the potential size. Because of the setbacks, on the north and the west side, we have some easements in here, we also have a pond. We have an availability of a potential building that could be about 1,100 square feet, potentially more, which is the pink shaded area, and that is if there was a storm pond relocated. I guess I'd like to know wherever council would like to start with the discussion, and we can answer questions and go from there.
What would be the, I guess, what would be the guesstimate on a listing price of a shovel-ready site at that size?
Well, so this site would not be considered shovel-ready. To get this shovel-ready, Ms. Selman can speak, she's got some estimates that she's put together. We would have to provide the stub outs and have it basically ready for a build to come in. Sheila, do you have that in front of you, approximately how much?
Yeah, so it would range probably about $17,000, give or take 17 to 20,000, to get it ready to do all the surveys, planning, getting the stubs, everything. Also, there's an application process you have to go through with the state. The application process is over $2,000, and it's not guaranteed. So then you certify it. determine what the sales price is, we would start at market value and then work our way from there. We cannot sell it for more than market value.
And we have, this is the first discussion that we're having on this, so we have not had an appraisal done, so we wouldn't be able to provide approximately how much that could go for.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I got a guy that's very interested in it. He's probably gonna need more than that 1150 square feet. And so he would have to fill in, as Jason, Mr. Cook and I have had that conversation, you'd have to relocate the storm pond.
Is that possible?
Yeah, actually, if you see on that figure, there's that blue line, that's just kind of like an alternate where the storm pipe could get extended from where it currently is, and then the pond is only kind of that 1,200 square foot size, so essentially you dig it further east and then just fill in the existing pond, with, suitable material to be able to build on. And it would just have to have some easements revised to reflect that, and then obviously the cost to do that. The cost would be probably in the $15,000 range to run that new storm pipe and move the existing pond. Cost to just do an administrative subdivision to just cut that parcel off would probably be in the $3,000 range. And that's all not going through the shovel-ready process, so.
So we would actually do a minor subdivision, just to clarify, preliminary and final plat, because of the easements that are out there, we can't just do an administrative, so, that cost actually would be a little bit more, than that, probably the $10,000 range for the plat.
So you're saying it would cost about $15,000 to move that storm drain,
Ballpark, yeah.
right? And then she's talking 10,000, so that's 25,000. This gentleman's been bugging me about this lot. Mr. Johnson knows who it is, and I don't want to say any names at this point.
He's talked to me once already too. So
And he's-
I know he's very interested.
He's very interested in it. We could sit on this lot for 15 years, 20 years, and not get anything out of it. I bet you if we offered him that thing for $125,000, he'd probably take it and he'd start building right along the time with the liquor store. And I think it's a business that would offset both the liquor store and him and the grocery store. We'll make that money up in that 15 years sitting without taxes, just in the taxes that we'd get on it. Make him fill in the storm pond. We do offset our storm drain, do all our due diligence. I think, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to sit on that lot for 15 years. I mean, we don't know what this economy is gonna do. And if it takes a tank in a year from now, here we're sitting on this thing. And 10 years from now, we're gonna turn around and say, God, I wish we would have sold it back then for that. Because I know for a fact that this city jumped on city lots back in that downturn. We paid like $6,000 for a lot. Matter of fact, we bought 2 lots for $6,000 each, and those lots today are selling for $30,000. We bought when we could. I think we should sell when we can. We bought this lot knowingly that very not possibly may not have been able to put another business on there. So I look at it as we're down that money for that whole purchase of that whole area. I'd rather see us sell it and get this thing gone and let another business come in and collect taxes on it. That's my personal opinion. I don't want to give it away. I mean, I don't want us to spend $100,000 to get it shovel ready and say, okay, here it is to you for $1. But if we can get some of our money out of it and our costs and let him do the rest, I'd be willing to bet you he'd jump on that.
So what you're thinking is if he paid the 15, we paid the 10, he'd jump on that, is what you're pretty much saying.
Well, I'm thinking if we'd have to pay the 15, we'd probably have to pay the 10, so we're at 25. If we turn around and sold that lot to him for 100, 110, 115, 120, whatever you all want to agree on, I think he'd buy it for that.
Well, I think it needs to be appraised before we decide who's gonna buy it, and it'll have to be listed. I don't know if you can do backdoor deals
Councilmember
with
Hulseth,
friends.
hopefully that you have
I'm not doing a backdoor deal for a friend. I'm just telling you, you get that appraised and it comes back at $400,000, guess what? We're sitting on that for 10, 15 years. And then we're gonna say, God, I wish I would've sold it then.
It's half the size of that. We paid that for the whole thing.
It's not half the size. You can't put anything bigger than a
Right, so it's
1,150
it's
square
not-
foot
yeah,
building on
That's
there.
what I'm saying, so it's not
I
gonna
would,
appraise
I
for
would like
400,000.
to kind of, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of piggyback on what Dan said there, but, I mean, that's a pretty, to me, that's a pretty prime piece of space there. I know, Steve, you don't think it's big enough for something, but I mean, for even, let's say, a pizza shop, it'd be perfect. So, so I think we don't want to probably give this thing away necessarily. I think we ought to have it appraised, and, you know, 1,100 square feet for the right kind of business, that's a prime amount of space. And I think Dan's right, that we probably ought to get it looked at, we got to get it appraised and see what it's worth, because I think it's probably worth more than you might think.
It's worth more than you think if it's worth that to somebody. Would you, so Councilman Gordon, if, say a pizza joint is big enough for you, but would you pay $300,000 for that lot and build, and then plus build a building on it? I wanna know you personally doing that.
What did we pay for
I
the
would-
entire lot?
I wouldn't pay that, but I mean, I'm just saying it's, I mean, I think Dan's right that it's more attractive than you might think. It's
For both.
1,100 square feet is small, but it's, that's a very good location, being that you have the liquor store and the grocery store right there, and, it's easy to get in and out of. It's a nice little spot, so, I just think it needs to be appraised, and, I mean, I don't think it's worth probably 300,000, but I just agree with Dan. I think it's,
You're gonna find out.
it's needs something that needs to be looked at, and needs to have a fair market value put on it, and that kind of thing, is all I'm saying.
I think an appraisal would be a good idea. I'm not gonna side with either side, but it won't shock me if that comes up a little less money than you guys are thinking.
I don't think it's worth 300 grand. We paid 400 grand for the whole thing.
Right, and we'll be lucky to see $150,000 appraisal, I bet. We'd be lucky.
The problem is if the lot was bigger, where you'd utilize a bigger building, do you know how big 1,150 square feet is?
Yeah, I do.
That's smaller than your house. That's smaller than your house.
Well, I hope so.
So you look at that, so you're gonna, you know, that's what my point is. If the lot was bigger, absolutely, I'd be 100% jumping on board to make something go through. All of a sudden, this thing comes back to you at $50,000, now we're stuck at that number.
My recommendation, that is, if council seems to be in consensus that we want to find out the value of that property, my recommendation is that if there is a motion, by the council to have staff proceed with an appraisal, and then we can bring that back, and once we get that, we can enter into more negotiations, we can go into closed session to discuss what we would want to sell it for, based upon what the, appraisal comes back, and then look at what we would need to do to have the site ready, if we wanted to do that, or if we would sell it as the way it is.
The only thing that's going against us right now,
I say get it appraised. I'm in favor of getting it appraised.
the only thing I'm gonna say right now, and I'm agreeing with you, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I want you to understand something. That storm drain is gonna start happening sooner than you expect. So it has to be done now, or that, what did you say that was, moving that drain was $15,000? Yeah, so all of a sudden they do the work, and all of a sudden we're spending another $30,000, we already doubled the cost because we had to tie in what's in there. Now we're going backwards.
We'd have no guarantees or no money down on this property yet, so we need to go about this
Well, what I'm pointing out to you is what I'm pointing out to you.
safely.
So, what I'm saying is, would you rather spend $15,000 to do that now, or spend $30,000 a month from now, or 2 months from now, to make this deal operate?
Well, we don't have a deal yet. That's
Okay, you're missing my point, is what I'm getting at. You're missing my point. Time is not of the essence. That storm drain is probably gonna happen within 2 weeks of signing a contract.
Jason?
I guess there's just two parts. So we're not planning on touching this as part of our project. So, you know, the site, our grading limits and all that are not even touching any of this area. So
So that storm drain wouldn't matter?
We're not planning on touching that or the pond, and that's planned right now to just stay as is.
Okay, I was a misunderstanding. I thought we had to bring storm drain in there.
Right, no, so that's already there, and we're not planning on touching it. So yeah, I guess I would recommend, you know, really not moving that at a city cost as opposed to a developer could choose if they need a bigger building to add that to their site cost as a thing that they could have done. But if the city did it in advance, and then the person that comes to wanna buy it only needed that smaller part, it was an unnecessary
Expense.
I wouldn't do anything until he signs a contract of purchasing it anyway. But I mean, I was under the understanding we had to do some work with these utilities already. So that's why I brought it up that way. And that's my wrong for, I assumed that was part of doing some of this work. Because I know you'd been out there numerous times and discussed how we had to do things and change things. So, you know, I'm not against getting the appraisal. I don't want any one of you to think that. But I just want you to understand, don't shoot yourself in the foot and say, God, 10 years from now, I wish I would have done something different. I'm just telling you, none of you seen this economy take a tank like I have more than once.
So if I could, I can't really foresee any path forward that doesn't require us to end up with an appraisal. Whether we just sell the land as is, we do nothing, we're gonna have to have an appraisal because we're gonna have to prove that we didn't give somebody a business subsidy. Whether we do work to the lot and then sell it, we are still gonna have to have an appraisal and understand whether the work happened prior or after affected the value. And there's not really any scenario where we don't have to have an appraisal in order to be compliant with state statute.
So for us to cross our Ts and dot our Is in appraisals,
And this is
Inevitable.
one of those times where it's like, just to be kosher with the state auditor's office, to be kosher with state statute, you just have to have an appraisal, it just is. Don't really have a choice, unfortunately. If we want to sell it, that's kind of the first step, no matter what.
I would entertain a motion then to have that piece of land appraised.
I make a motion to have the property appraised.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin to have the property appraised. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Jimmy Gordon, aye.
Paul Burgley, aye.
Aye. Did you say aye?
Yeah, I already did.
Oh,
said
I
it
didn't
after
hear
you.
you. Sorry.
didn't hear it.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Do we want to discuss the old building, or are we going to save that for Cal?
I think we should save that for Cal. Or do we have to do something with it now?
Because remember, I brought it up.
Mayor, that's up to you if you wanted to discuss it tonight.
All I want to do is just have you guys chew on it and a little food for thought. I think for us to put the police department in that old liquor store is a mistake. And the reason that I say that is, if we're going to get a sit-down or fast food restaurant in the city, that would be a prime spot to offer that to an entity that wanted to come in. I think it could be appraised. I think we could sell it. It doesn't hurt to put a for sale sign out front and see if we get any nibbles, any bites. But then the question came about, well, where do we put the cops then? And I've been trying to catch the guy for 2 weeks now. The old Hobby Farm building.
Hobby Farm.
What is that? What is the?
It's right next to NHH.
What is that place called? Is it Hobby Farms, right?
That was I believe, the trucking name.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the name on the facility.
Has all the dock trucks sitting out there.
Oh, next to Evercat?
Yes.
Yep, between Evercat and NHH.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I know what that's at.
We'd have to do minimal stuff to that building. It's got 7 bays on each side. It's got upstairs and downstairs office space,
And it's fairly new.
and it's fairly new.
Oh, I know what it was originally. I did a bunch of work in that building.
Yeah, so I mean,
Used to be a body shop.
just, food for thought. If we could sell that piece on 5 to, a fast food or a sit-down restaurant that wanted to come in town, it's something for us to be able to offer a business to come in the city.
Yeah, and, well, with that other building, you have room for expansion that's already there.
We'd have The
Probably wouldn't
police
have to add
department
on
would
to
sit
it.
there for 40 years.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have to add anything onto it.
Nothing.
Maybe some minimal,
Fencing,
the
maybe.
problem, question is what we'd have to pay for that building.
That's the only problem.
And I think
that's-
I agree with you on that, maybe on that aspect, but I think we need first, before we really jump into anything, we need to find out what they want for it, if they're gonna sell it.
If there's interest, Mayor, for the mayor and for the council here to have staff look into it, I'd ask for a motion, and for a vote on that, if you want staff to look into that and spend time.
Councilman Gordon, Councilman Burgley, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, we have $1 million budgeted that we're planning on using that's cash that we'll have on hand, I think. Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, whether we put that into the liquor store building or we put that into a building like the one that you mentioned, it really doesn't make a difference. I think, you know, that other building might be more suited to what we need currently anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's available right now. It's not, they're not using it or anything like that. It's for sale.
Well, anything's for sale, Councilman Gordon. I could put it that way, I guess, but I just don't want, as you know, I mean, everybody here knows, we're all on the same page. We don't want them to try to take us to the bank on that. You know, we'd have to go talk to him and see if he'd entertain selling the building and what he would sell it for.
Okay, so it's not like currently for sale, so, I mean, I think if he's using it, obviously, that's gonna be a tough sell, but, I mean, as long as, I mean, I'm okay, we have the $1 million budgeted, that's the plan. If we go into an existing building, it sounds like we can make that work. Obviously, I don't wanna see us build a brand-new building somewhere for $2 or $3 million. I mean, that's why we built the liquor store, was because that was, at least had the potential to cover that debt, and then we would have, you know, with increased profits from the liquor store, so that it didn't affect the taxpayers. So I was okay with that in the case that we were moving the police station to a different building and getting away with cheaper with the police station build out. So, so as long as we stay within budget, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference to me what building we would go into, as long as that's, that budget is met and that we're not, you know, going outside of that. So, that would be my 2 cents.
Then there is a possibility that we could put the old liquor store up for sale and cross our fingers that, you know, a business would look at that as it's on the busiest road through our city, you know, and they would jump on that, and we could benefit off of selling that as well. Mr. Becker, you
Yeah,
got something?
I think if you have a better building to go into, I mean, I think that makes more sense, for sure, yeah.
Yeah,
But,
so just
but I don't
to,
know if you have one available really or not, you know, that kind of thing, but yeah, I mean, I think you're right that space where the liquor store is a better retail space than the police station space. It just happened to be the case where it fit, you know, our plan with what we were doing with the liquor store. So, yeah, I think you're right about that property being utilized for something better would be obviously more ideal, so.
So just to clarify a couple things, off the top of my head, if I'm remembering correctly, the budget for the PD renovations is 1.106 million in 2025. The nice thing is with that is, like Councilmember Gordon pointed out, that's the cash we will have, right? The other issue here would be is that there's not really any reason we can't do both, like a dual track, until we see which path is the clear choice, right? So once the old liquor store is empty, putting a sign up front saying for sale and see what happens, that's not a bad solution, right? And if you get a great offer that you say, well, holy smokes, I can't believe we're going to get that, and we look at that culmination of the budget, the sale proceeds of that store and the existing budget of 1.1 million, you know, maybe we can figure out a way to make it work. And if we can't, then you stick to the original plan and know that you're still going to have an outcome that's favorable to the city and the residents anyway.
Makes good sense to me.
I'll make a motion that we have staff look into what we can do about if that building's for sale, if he's interested in purchasing,
And maybe at the same.
selling it, I should say.
Yeah, maybe at the same time, they can see what the stuff that's inside there would be worth, because someone's probably not gonna use most of that if they bought that building anyway.
Yeah.
Or, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, I know what you're saying, you know, the refrigeration and whatever
Yeah.
stuff we don't use, yeah.
So I have a motion to have staff look into the building
Second.
that I'm talking about, and you wanted to do,
That will come, the Councilmember Nelson, that'll come through
Oh,
would go
okay.
through a normal process.
That's fine.
I was looking for that word and I couldn't think of surplus for some reason. So I have a motion from Councilman Lundin to have staff look into that, and a second by Councilman Burgley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Oh, Councilman Gordon, I seen your lips move.
I was meaning to say,
Go ahead, Councilman Gordon.
Jimmy.
I'll get to you,
Jimmy
Burgley.
Gordon, aye, and for it.
Okay, Councilman Burgley?
Paul Burgley, affirmative. Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0 then. Anything else we'd like to discuss? Nothing at this time. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Lundin and a second by Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
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 Jimmy Gordon, aye.
Paul Burgley, aye.
You got your little ones coming in behind you, Councilman Gordon. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0, therefore we stand adjourned. Good meeting.